It says starting live, but I'm waiting. Okay, we are live. Thank you. Welcome to another edition of Facebook Live for Claim Your Justice. Sorry we're late, 10 minutes late today. We were finishing up with a client interview, and at Claim Your Justice, clients come first. This is very important to us, but we wanted to make sure we answered all our clients' questions and got the case moving in the right direction. The purpose of these Facebook interviews and Facebook Live sessions is to educate the Facebook community and our future clients about their rights when there's a personal injury case. It could be on behalf of themselves, behalf of a relative, behalf of a friend or family member. Today, we're going to talk about nursing home cases. And it's a very near and dear topic to me now because I have an elderly relative who is in the process of moving from independent living to a nursing home. And it's a sensitive topic because things happen when you're in a nursing home. And I figured it's a perfect opportunity for Jessica and I today to discuss this. For any personal injury claims, make sure you reach out to Claim Your Justice. You could reach us on the web, or you could reach us by telephone at 888-88-KEITH. And by the web, of course, you can go to claimyourjustice.com. Today, I'm lucky enough to be assisted today by Jessica Wong Barrera. She did such a wonderful job last time. We invited her back. Haha. Jessica, you have some questions that we discussed that we think will be helpful to the community? Let's roll.
Yes, I do. Question number one, Keith, are there separate rights that apply to residents in nursing homes?
Yes, so we generally have the same rights for injury cases when it comes to a slip and fall case, a car accident case, a wrongful death case. However, the nursing homes are governed by the Illinois Nursing Home Act. And within the Nursing Home Act, it provides a certain set of rights statutorily. So when you have an auto accident case, it's based on common law negligence, duty, breach of duty, proximate cause damages. Every case, everywhere in the United States, those are the analysis that needs to be made. In Illinois, the Nursing Home Act provides certain rights that when you're a nursing home resident, that you have statutorily that you may not have if you're just maybe at an independent care living facility. So in a nursing home, you have a right to make sure you get your mail, make sure you have a telephone, access to a telephone, and make sure you can get visitors. That's important. You also have a right to see your own doctor if you have health insurance, or to pay for the health insurance at your expense. And those are two really significant rights that are vested by the Illinois Nursing Home Act. Of course, you have a right to be free from abuse and neglect. And those terms, abuse and neglect, are defined within the Illinois Nursing Home Act. And that's another right you would think, well, I don't need a statute to tell me that. However, because it's by definition, and there's a push and pull between the nursing home lobby that says we can only do certain things, and the residents who say we need to make sure we have an enhanced level of care because we have elderly people who can't always defend for themselves. What's next, Jess?
Is there a definition of what exactly a nursing home includes?
A nursing home includes, so if you are in a facility at very basic with more than 3 residents who are not related, that facility, it will be defined as a nursing home. Now, I know 3 seems like a small number, and you're not going to have a nursing home with such a small population of residents. And some of these nursing homes have 200 residents. They're big. There's one not too far from my house. They may have 300 residents there. So it's more than 3 people where the staff is charged with keeping and taking care of the residents. What's next?
Question 3, is there a number one reason why many residents of nursing homes are injured or otherwise harmed?
So I think we've all heard scenarios where elderly people suffer bed sores. And the number one source of injuries that are suffered upon residents of nursing home would be bed sores. Now, bed sores is a common term that we talk about in just basic conversation. However, it's generally in a medically and from a nursing language perspective called pressure ulcers. So it's a painful condition, and it happens frequently because a patient, sometimes happens to patients in hospitals, but it more regularly happens to patients in nursing homes where they're not as mobile. Sometimes they're seriously medicated and they can't move around as much. So they're laying in the same position for a period of time. And the body's reaction to that is to have what's called a pressure ulcer. And there's pictures of them. You can certainly look on the internet. I suggest you look at them after dinner or not before dinner, because the injuries are quite dramatic frequently when the pressure ulcers get to a certain degree, and they can become infected. So to your question, number one result, the number one type of injury would be a bed sore, pressure ulcer.
Okay.
What's next?
What types of injuries are common to nursing home residents?
Well, you have a nursing home in Texas that we're going to talk about in detail at the end of this conversation, but you have a person who trips and falls. Listen, I'm in my 50s. There's sometimes I feel like a certain terrain I could trip and fall. These fall down cases are common in nursing homes, and it just makes sense. Someone may need a walker. They don't have a walker. They try and walk. They fall. Someone may be walking with a walker and there's an obstruction in the floor that shouldn't be there, and it trips up on the walker or trips up on the person pushing the walker. They trip and fall. It could be a situation with a cane. So we got the number one, we see the pressure ulcers, the bed sores. Number two is fall down cases. And the fall down cases, because when you're older, your bones are become more brittle, they're more fragile, and you're more frail as it is yourself, being able to stop your fall. And so some of the injuries from the fall down cases, Jessica, are bad. You could have a broken hip injury that requires the hip to be replaced. And now you've got a 80-year-old person, man or woman, needing to undergo what would otherwise have been an unnecessary surgical procedure to replace a hip. Now, scientifically and medically, it sounds, wow, that sounds cool, but that's not something you want your relative to have to go through just because they weren't properly cared for. The fall down cases could be someone where they should have had side rails up on their bed, and the nursing home perhaps forgot to raise the side rails or didn't prevent the side rails from being lowered too easily by the resident, and the person falls out of bed. And you could have all sorts of injuries. And then you also have, if a person is at the level where they need assistance going to the bathroom and the proper lift isn't available in the bathroom to take the person on, put the person on, take the person off the toilet, you could have an injury where someone's going to the bathroom, a trip and fall going to the bathroom. Other type of injuries you could have is where the proper medication is not administered. Either the wrong medication is given, or the medication isn't given to the patient at the recommended period of time, or you have the wrong, a lot of ors, or you have the wrong dosage given. So you have a patient that's supposed to be who's supposed to take some perhaps sleep aid, or digestive aid, and they're giving the wrong amount, either too little, or too much. And so you've got the bed sores, you got the fall down cases, you've got the failure to administer the proper medication, and those are probably the three that we most commonly see.
Okay.
What's next?
And can you talk a little more about elder abuse? I know we've talked about like lack of treatment, but what about elder abuse?
Let's start out with a very scientific and legal term called it's terrible. Elder abuse is common. The case I referred to just a few minutes ago was in the news recently, nursing home in Texas. The family is concerned about the care that their relative is getting, so they install like a little camera, some type of surveillance camera in the relative's room. They get a call from the nursing home to say, hey, my relative was injured. They get a call from the nursing home and says, oh, I'm sorry, your relative was injured and he fell out of bed. Well, what they see on the video is that this person did fall out of bed, but after he fell out of bed, he's abused by the staff getting back into bed or assisted getting up. And so there was a lawsuit in Texas. There was a multi-million-dollar recovery made because of the elder abuse. And part of the elder abuse, and this is a topic I meant to cover earlier, is there's a staffing issue. Now listen, every day in the news, whether it's on a news channel, a radio station, conversations with friends, co-employees, business owners, there's a staffing shortage, right? Jess, you've heard that before, staffing shortages. So it's a problem in nursing homes because many of the injuries that are suffered upon or suffered by residents of injuries may not have happened if there was proper staffing. So staffing shortages can come in a variety of methods. One method could be where they don't have enough people on staff. The second method could be where nursing home hires a staff member and the staff member is not properly qualified, not properly supervised, not properly trained. I would put that in the I'd put that in the silo of staffing shortage because you don't have the right person on the job. So this case in Texas was a perfect elder abuse case. The elderly person who's a resident paying what they're supposed to be paying to be in this nursing home, to get the proper care, to get the proper staffing, and they don't. And so you have a scenario where you get elder abuse, and then worse, you could have a resident of the nursing home being sexually abused. And you have some sick people out there, and sometimes they find their way into the wrong situations, wrong employment systems, the wrong employment role, and you could have a relative who's sexually abused, and it happens. I'm not making this stuff up, and when it happens, it's disgusting, and the nursing home's certainly responsible. So the elder abuse, you could have physical abuse, you could have sexual abuse, and you could have some type of mental abuse where, oh, sure, you want to be fed, I'm not going to feed you. That's abuse, and that could relate into malnutrition for the resident. What's next?
All right. Now, can we talk about settlement? How much money we
Money,
can, yes.
money time. So Jessica, these cases range wide in the value, and you have the basic elements of damages. You could have the additional medical bills that are required by an injury that a resident suffers. You certainly have pain and suffering, which is a common ingredient for any personal injury case. You may have this disfigurement that we talked a moment ago about, the case where the person broke their hip, fell down, broke their hip, needed a hip replacement. Well, they may have a limp that they didn't have before. They may need a cane that they didn't need before. They may need a walker they didn't need before. They may need more personal assistance that they didn't need before. So that disfigurement is a big issue, and that also connects with loss of normal life, because where the resident before they fell down, broke their hip, needed a hip replacement, may have been able to walk around the nursing home themselves without any assistance. With the replaced hip, they now need to have some regular and frequent assistance. And so a lot of it depends on that type of injury. And then, there's it's an unfriendly component to talk about, but if you have a person who's in their 30s and has a very serious injury, now that person's going to have to live with that serious injury for the normal life expectancy. Let's call it 72. So that's 42 years of living with this. Now, unfortunately, these value of these nursing home cases are sometimes reduced because a person can have a shortened lifespan because of their age. If you have someone in a nursing home, they may have a debilitating disease, and a medical expert would say they had 3 years to live or 2 years to live. So that could reduce the value of the case. But then you also have something that could increase the value of the case, which is the history of the care provided for the facility. If you can show a pattern of neglect by the facility, and I don't mean pattern every day, but if they've had 10 cases in the past several years, we would argue that that should show that they have gross negligence, which would increase the value of the case. What's next? Just anything else?
Is the nursing home insured? Does that have anything to do with the settlement?
Terrific question. I was talking to another lawyer this weekend, and he settled a case where the nursing home went into bankruptcy. So they didn't have it. Yes. I looked at the same way. So he settled the case out of bankruptcy. I guess there was too many claims, or their expenses were too high. For whatever reason, the nursing home was driven into bankruptcy, and there was a limited amount of money. So the payout for that person's client was through bankruptcy. There's generally insurance, but as we've talked about in previous Facebook Live sessions for Claim Your Justice, sometimes the insurance isn't enough. So it's difficult enough to find the right nursing home fit for your relative, but that's a weird question you might want to put on your checklist before you admit your relative into a nursing home. Let's talk about your financial viability. Do you have one location? Do you have 10 locations? Is each location separately owned? I'm sure the risk managers and the administrators may find that a little odd of a question, but it's your relative. You need to give maximum care and attention to that relative, and I think that's something you should do.
Right.
Jessica, I feel like at the end of this, we should have like a closing. Maybe not. We should have some type of. We should do together a like call Claim Your Justice. We'll have to work on that.
Yes.
Jessica, thank you for the questions, and I see that we've hit the 15-minute mark. We try and keep these to 15 minutes so they're viewable without too much difficulty by people. So I'm going to sign off here and say, if you, family member, friend, anyone you know is injured in an accident, let Claim Your Justice help those people claim your justice. You could reach us on the web at claimyourjustice.com or at 888-88-KEITH. Until next time, just thank you for your time, and
Thank
Facebook
you.
community, talk to you very soon. Bye.